It is now illegal to publicly display Nazi symbols in the ACT. Speaking about this change earlier this week, the Attorney General Shane Rattenbury said that the ban applies to the physical or the online display of symbols associated with the Nazis. And he said that everyone has the right to feel safe and to live their lives in our community free of intimidation and threats. The ACT is not the only jurisdiction taking these steps. In fact, Victoria has had similar laws in place for over a year, and its state parliament is currently considering whether to ban the Nazi salute as well, following some recent ugly scenes in that city. Joining me to discuss the need for these kinds of laws this evening, the chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission, Dvir Abramovich, is with me this evening. Thank you so much for your time, Dvir.
Good to be with you, Anna.
Are laws like this in the ACT and in Victoria, are these needed in your view?
Well, first of all, let me say that this week history was made, and I have no doubt that the bells of freedom, respect, and equality are ringing throughout the state, and we should really rejoice because this is a triumphant moment. I think it will be forever be engraved in the annals of Australian democracy. And when I launched this 6 years ago, never lost faith that we would have this hard-won victory. And I think that we as Australians are finding ourselves in a moral moment when our garden of our democracy is being infected by the weeds of neo-Nazism and white supremacists. And these laws are absolutely needed. And we have to, I think, remember what the Nazi swastika represents. I mean, it represents, mothers clutching onto babies being pushed into the gas chambers, uh, entire families being taken into open fields and executed by the Nazis and the collaborators. And allowing this monstrosity to continue is not really who we are as a people, and it really rips apart the foundational values of our society. So I applaud the government and the elected representatives who voted for this bill.
Here in the ACT, I guess, and around Australia, if the public display of these symbols is banned, is there a risk that that simply doesn't make any activity go away? It just pushes it underground?
Well, first of all, let's remember that for these final solutionists, the Nazi swastika is the preferred weapon of choice to sow fear and to terrorize. And it's a rallying cry for them to celebrate the genocidal legacy of the Third Reich. So they are not going to go underground because they've made a decision years ago to take their activities offline and to make their presence known. So I don't think that's a problem. I think it's a question of what does it say about a community that allows this symbol to be publicly displayed. And I'm glad that here now we have, of course, Tasmania and South Australia is coming on board, New South Wales, and of course, Victoria was the first state to do so.
There are exemptions for the legitimate display of the swastika, for instance, for religious reasons, for genuine cultural or educational reasons, as the government put it this week. But this does apply to the online display of these symbols. We do know, though, that online is also where Nazi-associated items might be listed for sale. Do you have a view on whether that kind of online marketplace should also come under these laws?
Yes, I have rallied and lobbied for years, calling on state governments to outlaw the trafficking in Nazi memorabilia, what I call the blood-stained items and the devil's tools. What we've had is that over the last few months, the federal government, and I was present when the Attorney General actually announced it, the federal government will now ban the trafficking in Nazi memorabilia. So, in the next few months, when the law is finally passed, nobody will be able to peddle these items and to profit from the murder and the crimes of the Third Reich.
You're listening on ABC Radio Canberra this evening to Dvir Abramovich, chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission. In the ACT, we saw it become the law that banned the public display of Nazi-related symbols, including the swastika, other than some very specific examples. At the start of our conversation, Dvir, you talked about this being an Australian moment. Why now? What are you seeing that means the banning of these symbols is very important at this moment?
I think what we've seen over the last few years has made it very clear that Nazism didn't die in the bunker with Hitler. That white supremacism is not history, it is current affairs, it is news. And we saw it in Victoria, we saw neo-Nazis, something that nobody would have ever imagined in their lifetime, especially Holocaust survivors, marching down the street, walking into the steps of Parliament House, not just publicly displaying the Nazi swastika, but also giving the Heil Hitler salute. And I just want to say, Anna, that this law not only honors our sacred values and common humanity, but it's also a booming tribute to the brave diggers. Let's remember that our valiant diggers fought and died to defeat Hitler. Of course, it also commemorates the 6 million Jews and millions of others that were murdered by the Nazis, but importantly also, of course, the Holocaust survivors who rebuilt their lives here. And what we as a community need to say to the neo-Nazis, to these final solutionists who are trying to resuscitate and to celebrate and to glorify Hitler's legacy, the law is no longer on your side. We as a community are going to fight back. This is really a battle between good and evil, and it's one that we have to win.
When people see these symbols, particularly Holocaust survivors, Jewish people in Australia, what is the effect of that for people on these visible symbols?
Yeah. Well, if you're the child or the grandchild of a Holocaust survivor, it tears a hole in your heart. And it is as menacing, as threatening as being faced with a gun. This is not normal. And you can imagine the grief and the pain for a Holocaust survivor who may have lost parents or kids to see the representation of Hitler and Nazism in present day Australia. We simply had to make sure that we can never allow for any state to become a safe haven for these emblems of inhumanity. And can I take this opportunity on your show to call on the government to now take another high moral ground and to ban the Nazi salute? I was invited by the Attorney General of Tasmania, Liz Archer, a few months ago to come down and to sit with her in Parliament when the Tasmanian Parliament passed a law to ban the Nazi salute. Our Attorney General has just introduced a bill, and I promise you one thing, if the territory government introduces a bill to ban the Nazi salute, I will be there applauding and commending them.
We appreciate your time this evening, Dvir. Thank you.